Hi, Jonathan York from Bay Financial Partners, looking at investment markets. Just when it looked like there was progress being made on the US-Iran deal, as a result of Israel's continued bombardment and movement into Lebanon, Iran has now said that all talks are off. And Trump has come out and further complicated the situation by saying he doesn't care whether the talks are on or off. Doesn't make any difference. Now, quite what that means, nobody knows. Because certainly Trump is facing increasing pressure at home with rising gasoline prices, especially after the Memorial Day holiday, which traditionally starts the start of the driving season in the US. Average price of gasoline in the US is currently around sort of $4.50 a gallon, where a year ago it's $3.20. Certainly the pressure on Trump appears to be sort of mounting as he's faced another few sort of setbacks this week. First, your judge has ruled that because Congress named the Kennedy Center, Trump can't just add his name to it, so it's got to be removed. There's also questions over the legality of the settlement with the IRS and potentially the sort of slush fund as well that he set up as a result of that settlement. Now, obviously, the other big news out there, now most of the earnings are out of the way, is the potential SpaceX IPO, which will have some major implications potentially for index funds. Now, rates in the US have come back off their highs recently, but they're still elevated. 10-year is currently around sort of 447. That 30-year is just around 5%, and the 2-year is around 406. So again, with the Fed funds target rate of sort of 3.5 to 375, the markets don't appear to imply that the Fed is looking to cut anytime soon. So certainly the first FOMC meeting with the new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, should be pretty interesting because, Trump is on the tape saying that he expects rates to be cut once Kevin Warsh was announced and confirmed as the new Fed chair. Now, also as well, obviously with the US, you've got the FIFA World Cup starting very soon. It's just going to be interesting to see what sort of impact that has on the US economy. Now, oil's still very volatile out there. There was obviously very good news when they were talking about, potentially getting very close to a settlement and a sort of solution to the US-Iran situation. And that saw oil back down below $90. However, with the latest shenanigans, oil's back around sort of 92.40 and change. Now, interesting in the UK, the latest G7, the UK managed to sign a new deal with the Gulf states. And that certainly should be good news for the UK economy. Now, in the EU, sort of renewed concerns about the sort of summer period and, potentially disruption with that, given airlines and the elevated price of oil. Now, in Australia, some pretty good news on the latest CPI. That came in at 4.2 versus 4.6 last time round. And that sort of drop, has led some analysts now to predict that potentially the RBA could be on hold now for the rest of the year after their 3 recent hikes. Now, what sort of impact will the recent tax changes in the Australian budget have on the housing market? As yet, that's unclear. Now here in New Zealand, pretty much as expected, the Reserve Bank left rates unchanged, but it was a very tight vote. It was a 3-3 split with the chair having the casting vote. So it will be interesting to see what happens at the next meeting and on July the 8th. Because certainly inflation is a little bit of an issue given the rising oil prices. But as expected, the budget was pretty tight. There was going to be no sort of giveaway lolly scramble. And that was pretty well sort of signalled well before the budget was actually delivered. So now it's just a question of seeing how the New Zealand economy performs over the winter months. Also, as well, it's going to be interesting to see how much of that Fonterra payout gets spent in the New Zealand economy. Because certainly the dairy sector seems to be pushing on at a pretty good rate. Latest dairy auctions was up again. So if you are looking for income options, go to the website www.bayfinancialpartners.co.nz for lots of interesting articles. I look forward to speaking to you soon.